Hello and welcome to What the Tech Numbers Say Are, where we talk with some of the brilliant minds behind new and exciting tech initiatives to learn what it takes to tackle technological uncertainty and eventually change the world. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome onto the show CTO and co-founder of Ad Auris, Sharma. Ad Auris is a B2B SaaS narration tool for publishers that enables written content to be instantly transformed into rich audio experiences. As an audiophile himself, V is passionate about Ad Auris' mission to help publishers and content creators create greater value from each piece of their writing, increasing accessibility and driving content engagement throughout the day through audio. Their platform combines synthetic narration with a suite of features designed to drive engagement, deliver the best audio experience, and provide rich insights into listeners' behavior. It's some very cool tech with a great mission behind it, and I'm excited to pick V's brain on Ad Auris' success to date, working with partners throughout the North American tech and startup ecosystem, and what's on deck for the future. Welcome to the show, V.
Hello, thanks for having me on.
I'm so happy to have you. Now, I know I just ran through a little bit of your resume there, but I'd love to hear from you in your own words. How did you get into the startup space? How did you get into the founder space? And how did Ad Auris come around?
Yeah, great question. I never thought I was going to be a founder. That was not in the books for me at all. During university, I actually thought I was going to have this whole career in the military in front of me. I got in as an intelligence officer in the Canadian Air, and my training was going to start later on in the fall. And of course, COVID happened. So training went away. I had to figure out what am I going to do with my spare time. Went to Toronto. And it turns out all of my friends that were there in Toronto were all founders. And I thought to myself, hey, these guys can do it. Why can't I? One of the guys that got me introduced into the League of Innovators, a fantastic accelerator, which I really recommend to early stage founders or early stage startups who want to accelerate, knew me from before. And when I went back to Vancouver, turns out his identical twin brother, who I also know, Logan Underwood, which is the CEO today, said, hey, you should talk to Varun or V, and maybe he can help you get the tech stack off the ground. And we got started, and 2 weeks into it, we were like, we're going to do this together. And the rest is history.
Oh, that is amazing. It's so funny. A few points that you made, actually, I want to call back to. First off, with never thought I would be a founder. Some of the best conversations we have with founders on the show are those unexpected founders. I think it's really cool that you didn't go into it just thinking, hey, I like the idea of being an entrepreneur, and I like the idea of gaming a system, or I like the idea of just being a capitalist for capitalist's sake. You wanted to do something that was very cool, and then you found your way into it, but it wasn't from a place that was cynical necessarily, which I think is really, really helpful when you're trying to make a unique path for yourself in this space, because it can get pretty cynical pretty quickly. And then the second point that you made about the League of Innovators and finding your founder and your co-founder, that is awesome that you leaned on the community for that. And also, it's really funny that you had said too, that everyone you knew in Toronto seems like they're a founder. Maybe it's just because I'm on this podcast and everyone I've met in Toronto has also been a founder, but I feel like there is quite the entrepreneurial ecosystem there that makes it easy to have a great idea and then find people who want to support you. So I'd actually love to know a little bit more about what that ecosystem has been like, how it's been playing in that ecosystem, and beyond that League of Innovators, who else has helped you out along your path?
Yeah, there's definitely different accelerators and incubators that we've gone through different stages of the company. Each one comes with their own pros and cons, but they've been pretty instrumental giving us structure, especially as first-time founders. You really have no idea what you're doing. It's fantastic to have a little bit of structure and, like, hey, okay, these are the things to look out for. These are the hidden gotchas, and you just have other experienced multi-exit or multi-founding founders who helped along the way. We started with the League of Innovators, then we got into the XX, which is a small incubator out of SF. It's a feeder school to YC, actually. They're fantastic. Love those guys. If it wasn't for them, I think doing the fundraise would have been a lot harder after the XX. And then we got into, I think after the XX, it was Google for Startups, also an amazing accelerator, very technical, probably one of my favorite ones that I've ever been through as CTO. So shout out to Eron and Ashley and the rest of the Google for Startups team. And we also did the Morgan Stanley Inclusive Ventures Lab out of New York. And that was really good because they really take a little bit more mature companies and really accelerate what you're doing. So I think doing something like that too early doesn't fit, but really when you start to be at the growth stage, they were fantastic. So every step of the way, the accelerators has been something that we've really leaned on this whole journey.
Yeah, and I like that it's on both sides of the border too. I know we talk a lot about the Canadian ecosystem and the funding roadmap, at least that's on offer from the government up there. But even if you're looking to private equity, if you're looking to get to that growth phase, you got to look broader. You got to look globally. You got to look across the border. You may lose access to some key pieces of government funding if you're taking a little more private equity at different phases of your journey, but that's the give and take. That's startup life. And again, finding different members of the ecosystem who can help you at those different phases, because it's different challenges at each phase. And I think you hit the nail on the head too, especially at that growth phase. I think it becomes a whole different game at that point, and you really need to broaden what you're looking at. Now, before we go deep into the funding conversation, I want to know more about Ad Auris. Tell me a little bit more about the company, about the solution, and about the cool work that you guys are doing today.
Yeah, totally. Well, as you said earlier, we're an end-to-end audio creation platform. We realized that market wasn't as large as we had thought. And it comes with the whole list of a slew of other constraints. And then we moved on to publications. So that was a really fun part of our journey where we got to work with hundreds of publications globally, to the very small size, a few person team publications to some of the largest publications in the world, like Dezeen. They have like 20 million monthly readers and we provide all of their audio. So that's been a lot of fun. The publication space is a space where pockets aren't as deep as other industries, and it's sort of like a shrinking industry. And so we still service them today and we love them, and our tool still serves a purpose for them, but we've really grown and matured past that. And we're working with content marketing teams. We're working with marketers for, the big reason is one, I think our tool does really well in terms of what their content strategy is, taking all their written content, turning into audio, repurposing their marketing investments, kind of a no-brainer for them. And the market's pretty attractive. They have larger dedicated marketing budgets. So we're starting to work with some really fantastic customers there. So it's just the journey of like accessibility to like digital publications. And now it's like content marketers.
I love it. Well, I mean, again, that kind of part of the R&D of it all too is you got to actually go out there and talk to who your future customers are going to be and figure out that go-to-market strategy, but also what that ultimate use case is. It sounds like part of building your MVP, but even getting past the productionalization point was realizing where the white space would be for you guys. And so accessibility, perfect entree. Again, you're solving a very acute problem, but there's the downstream that you can get from that. You saw the publication space. I'm a content marketer, so I actually am extremely interested in all of this. I'm thinking about how many blogs we have written that might just die on the vine because we're not trying to multi-form factor them. I went to school for journalism. It was still print journalism in my major title at Emerson when I went there to myself. Newspapers don't do it anymore. And I'm not trying to cast aspersions industry-wide, but to the point you made, it becomes more valuable if it's in a more digestible or at least multiple digestible formats, because good content is only as good as its reach and it has to meet people where they're at. And today, a lot of that is audio. Could you tell me a little bit, partly for the audience, but also just for me personally, how content marketers specifically take advantage of Ad Auris today?
Yeah, totally. Well, as I said, the idea is repurposing their existing content. So what they'll do is they'll take their written blog content and they'll turn it into, like you said, chop it up into different types of content. Sometimes you want it more conversational. Sometimes you want sound bites. Sometimes you want longer form content. And we also create that audio straight from AI, which Bose has been a fantastic part of that journey with us, by the way, which you'll get to in a moment. And we turn that, and we also turn that written content into audio, and then we push that to podcasting platforms. So like you said, we're going to, increase your audience size, bring new eyeballs, or I guess ears in this case, to the content. So that's typically how content marketers use our content today. It's also just a fantastic way to not bring on more friction to the workflow process. So there's a lot of automations involved. And so we want to do sort of a way that allows them to have a one-time setup, and it automatically just magically converts everything as you want based off of your customizations. Content marketers seem to really like that because we don't want to add more work to their plate. So a lot of AI and automations come into play.
Absolutely. A lot of content marketers, I think when they first started hearing about the AI sniffing around the periphery of their day-to-day, it was a fear of the robots. They're coming for our jobs. They're going to take over. I want to drive a point under something that you said repeatedly there. We're not replacing the content team. We're making it so that they can be more effective. They can broaden their reach. The point about how Ad Auris on the platform already distributes to channels where the listeners are going to be at, that is huge for a content marketer, because again, a lot of effort goes into actually making the written word and making the actual main deliverable, like those blog posts that you were talking about. You might be exhausted from there, and then you're not going to put your due diligence into making sure that it gets the broadest reach possible. So I love that you built a solution that's not trying to replace content marketers at all. It's making their content more valuable. Do you think that's almost like a good read of it?
Exactly. Yeah, on their dot.
Beautiful. Now, we started talking about it, so I want to go down that road. Working on some cool AI. Sounds like you're doing some very shreddable R&D. Could you tell me a little bit about that R&D that you're working on? And also what it's been like working with us here at Boast. We've been ships passing the night for over a year now, actually, because my team has been telling me about you. And they're like, Paul, you're the content guy. You haven't met the Ad Auris team. Come on. Tell me a little bit about the cool AI you guys have developed, how our team has worked with you, and just the power of that kind of partnership.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's a huge thanks to you guys of the fact that we've been able to iterate from an accessibility standpoint to publications to all kinds of marketers. I mean, a lot of our runway has been really stretched quite fantastically to be able to bring on some fantastic hires because of the fact that we've been able to maximize our short returns. That's been a huge part of our journey. I mean, without that, I don't know if we've been able to iterate as fast. And I know there's a lot of startups probably listening to this. So that's pretty key. And also just be able to have that bit of feedback at riff-raff between you and the technical lead can really like help you shape your future strategy for how you want to develop your R&D with AI. So that's been fantastic too. But yeah, I mean, the tech, we deal with models that has to do with like the text transformation bits. A lot of that is LLMs. We deal with tech that has to do with the audio synthesizers themselves. So those are like audio-based models. So there's a whole huge slew of different types of tech that we've been working with over the years. And it's really changed. I was actually reading our report from the first spread that we did with you guys a couple of years back. And then I'm following another report with you guys right now with our fantastic lead, Kent. Shout out to Kent as well, Ken Anderson. And just to see how that tech has transformed over the years and how you guys have been really able to explain it in such a fantastic way, for the government, but also for ourselves. That's been great.
Yeah, that's music to my ears, B. And also, again, shout out to Ken Anderson. He's our man up there. He's, again, been the one who's told me, he's like, Paul, you need to use them, let alone meet them. So I'm happy to hear that. But you kind of took the words out of my mouth when you were talking about the riffraff between our tech lead. That's really what we want to happen in our ideal customer scenario, because our team, we're not just here checking boxes and filing claims with the CRA or the IRS. We are technologists in our own right. Our tech writers have built their own solutions. They understand your R&D. And while we use AI to help streamline the process and make it easier for our team to collect the data they need about your projects and make it peanut butter and jelly, easy to digest, easy to consume on the CRA side, if Kent wasn't so smart and couldn't wrap his head around the technology that you guys are building, it wouldn't get any easier. We wouldn't make a claim. That is the human side of the Boast product. We have technologists and tax pros who speak the language of innovation that you guys speak. And the best part of that too is that when we work with you year over year, we're able to help you iterate. So it's, again, music to my ears when I hear that. We're helping you learn and vice versa, that we're actually part of your team. We're showing you how things have evolved by helping you craft those claims. And again, it's become part of your strategy too, because I think Kent very much feels like he's a part of your team. And I think the whole Boast crew does now because of that. So I'm very happy to hear about that. And I'm very happy to hear about, again, the fact that we can kind of be a sounding board for you as well as an R&D claim resource. So that is fantastic. Now, I'd love to know, what's some of the other cool stuff that you're working on? What's on the roadmap? You don't have to give away the secret sauce, but anything we can look forward to over the coming year?
Yeah, well, you kind of alluded to it yourself earlier. We were just talking about what do we do with this content? What other types of forms can we convert it into? So we're starting to think beyond audio. We know that things are becoming much more visual, becoming much more accessible from an AI sense as well. And so we're looking at different ways of, okay, how do we create even better content that goes just beyond the years? So that's a little bit of a taster of what's to come. But even beyond that, just more automation, more integrations with different platforms that exist out there. We actually just shipped out, we're waiting for feedback from the HubSpot team, but we just shipped out an integration to automatically convert all this content from content marketers on the HubSpot platform. And so we're really excited to have that automation out. So more automations as well. So a bit of a combination of just like really cool AI tech beyond audio as well. And then integrations, making content marketers' lives easier.
Oh, honestly, I use HubSpot as an example of the best content marketing that there is, in my opinion, just because they have built so many communities that are, again, going back to it being not cynical. pure play resources for their communities. And that's what I love as a content marketer. You can smell the stuff that is BS, or if it's just trying to get leads in. Sure, at the end of the day, that's what we're all chasing in marketing, but they do it so well. So you picked the perfect partner there. And I think that's really awesome to cheerlead as an integration. HubSpot kicks ass, Ad Auris kicks ass. Together, you guys are going to keep kicking ass. I'd love to know too, before I move on, actually, I do want to just call back to the Boast conversation. Real quick, did you work with a different shred provider before you came to Boast, or had you navigated the funding process before you came to Boast? And what was that like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So before Boast, there was no one. So also, we haven't had that experience through others. But, obviously, when we were thinking about our funding strategy, we had spoken with a whole bunch of founders across the board, founders who have done it themselves, founders who had used other providers. And it was just really clear from what other founders in the ecosystem said, there was a huge recommendation for Boast. We've heard really good experiences that just made that experience just fantastic. For me as CTO, knowing the amount of work that would be required to file myself and not knowing the gotchas and the ins and outs, not having the expertise in the industry, I kind of ruled that out. I thought to myself, no, we should definitely use some of the positive experience. We know there's other providers out there across the board, but what I liked about Boast the best was how startup friendly they were, the structure, just how we came into negotiations with each other in terms of, okay, what's a good way to structure this? You guys were just really helpful from the get-go and really helped us come on board in a really smooth way. A lot of it came from good recommendations from founders in the space and hearing the horror stories of how it can go wrong. And so far, knock on wood, it's gone pretty smoothly. So we're really happy to be working with you guys. But that came from research, just speaking with founders out of Toronto, out of Vancouver, used different providers, and the best one that we heard at the time was you guys.
Awesome. And I'm happy that we're able to continue delivering. We just compiled our own report where we pulled CXOs, just basically members of the C-suite from across North America. So many aren't even applying for R&D tax credits just because they don't want to pay for a provider because they just assume that's going to be a cost strain. And they don't want to do it themselves. So they're leaving significant money on the table. So I think just even knowing about the program is a huge, huge thing that we need to do some work on as a company. But we also, again, we're very ABM, and I'm happy to hear that it was word of mouth, a lot of it, because I said it earlier, everyone I meet in Toronto feels like they're a founder. They also don't run away when I say I work for Boast, which means we're doing something right. In marketing and sales, that's always what you want. You want them to be happy to hear about their partner coming up to them at an event. So I love all of that. That is so cool. Now, my final question is kind of a broad one, but it's a fun one. We used to frame it as what's your take on the current state of startups, but I'd rather frame it as what's some advice or maybe some strategies or just sage wisdom you'd give to anybody looking to get started in the startup space today. Whether that's just they have a bug for entrepreneurship or they have a great idea, how would you tell them to go about getting started?
Yeah. The answer to that really changes on who you speak with and what stage they are in life for sure. So hard for me to give a blanket policy answer, but I think the common thread amongst all of that, no matter where people start, is just get started. Focus on the problem, forget about your idea or your solution, and that's going to change a gazillion times. The most important thing is you just put one foot in front of the other and be okay with the fact that this idea that I came up with in my head may not be the thing, but like I'm in the right problem space. I mean, the frequency of the problem is correct, the acuity, the severeness, that all translates into the market opportunity. And so as long as you're choosing the right problem set.
I love it. Focus on the problem. And again, you might have to change your solution, but don't try to prescribe it without doing the research or without fully understanding the full scope of the problem. I think that was very well put, D. Awesome. Well, that actually, I think, wraps it up for me. Were there any other points that you wanted to get in beforehand? Any shout outs or any events you want to forecast?
Yeah, don't trade on your own. Use both. Honestly, save yourself some pain, save yourself an audit, maximize your return. You use a fantastic provider. If you're unsure, talk to other founders in the space because it's just going to help you out. I know how it is as a founder to struggle with the amount of time and just like you could be focusing on building your product. So I would say, yeah, just look into the space, all the providers out there. And also beyond Boast and Grant, there are other grants out there. They'll pass it to other startups you should look at as well. But Boast and using Shred is a fantastic combo.
Oh yeah. I was going to say Shred is our bread and butter, but if you're doing any kind of unique R&D or any kind of innovation, come talk to us generally. We have some very knowledgeable technologists in our own right, and we want to be in the business with you if you have a great idea that will pay off in the long run. Whether it's IRAP, whether it's looking at grants before you start your R&D, or whether it's funding that R&D after the fact with R&D tax credits, we want to help you navigate it. And again, we got the platform of intelligence to help you improve your processes and make sure that you can deliver year over year. So get in with us now and we'll ride along with you. I love that. I can't thank you enough. That was the perfect shout out. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
No worries, Paul.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I will keep you posted. Like I said, I'll edit this up and make sure that you have your hands on anything before it goes live. One thing I'm going to do in tandem with this, and I'm actually going to work with Kent on it too, is along with the podcast, I'm going to do a little bit of a traditional case study write up too. So I'll let you know how that looks. I may ping you just to answer some off mic questions, but don't expect anything too heavy. We'll get the podcast out though before that, and I will keep you posted.
Amazing.
You're the man. I can't thank you enough. This is great. Thank you.
Bye, Paul.